बोलो सर, मोदी सर आगे सर। ओके ओके ओके, बोलो सर, मोदी सर आगे सर।
Okay. Good morning to all. Madam.
हाँ जी सर।
Dr. Nilofer.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you.
हाँ जी सर।
Dr. Nilofer with us. She introduced about Dr. Vigyani, and then the seminar will start. So, Dr. Nilofer, please.
Yes. So, good morning, all the participants. We have Dr. Surbi Tyagi as a speaker for today's session. Dr. Surbi ma'am did her PhD from RVRI, and she was a faculty member at NIU from 6 years. So currently she is serving as an assistant professor at SBB University of Agriculture and Technology at Meerut. She has very good hands in orthopedic surgery, and she is a keen learner and very much helpful to all the students. It is our honor to learn from Dr. Surbi Tyagi on topic called minimal invasive painful management techniques under the field conditions. Please, ma'am. It is our honor to learn
Thank you, Nilofer. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Surbi here. So the topic which we are going to discuss today. Thank you, Nilofer. So should I start? I'm Dr. Surbi here. So the topic which we are going to discuss today. So should I start?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Start करो सर.
Yes, madam. Please.
Good morning. Today the topic of discussion is
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
minimally invasive fracture management techniques
Yes,
under
madam,
field
please.
conditions. As we all know, the most common affection that we get in the
Yes, madam.
clinic is the fracture. A fracture is the break in continuity of hard tissue of the body. As we all, and the most common disease is encountered in animals is the fracture. So we are here to discuss it, and is the most common observed problem in the field conditions also. But in the field, we are not very much helpful because we are having lack of equipment and lack of plants. So the topic is aimed to discuss the modalities which can be used in the field conditions, which can help the animals. So coming directly to the 4 R's of fracture management. The first R is recovery. That means you have to know where is the fracture and which type of fracture it is. And it is to be done with the help of physical analysis, gait analysis, and radiography. The radiography will tell the final diagnosis and it will recognize the type of bone and the type of fracture. The second R is reduction. Reduction means you have to bring the bones in their alignment, and reduction can be done by open method. That you have to emphasize the skin, reach the bones, and then reduce it. Or it can be done with the help of closed method, in which we can apply the traction in alignment. And it's very essential that to reduce to give anesthesia or muscle relaxant to the animal. The third and the most important is retention. The fracture fragments which are reduced should be retained also. They have to be seen so that the reduction which is done, it remains as such. It does not come back. And the last one. And most of the full fractures and that extremity fracture, they occur with the tension forces. Third is the torsion. The torsion acts in the rotational manner and it leads to the focus part of the movement. Axis is the bending force which acts in the particular type of fracture, butterfly fracture. And the most important thing to note here is that in the biological system, none of these forces acts alone. A combination of these forces act in the biological system. So while devising the fixation device, you should utilize all these forces. And if all these forces will be utilized equally, then the fixation will be the helpful. And splints alone or in combination. Then we have casts like PUP cast and fiberglass bandage cast. The good thing about external cooperation is that they are the minimally invasive fracture management technique. They are minimally invasive fixation. Then which is the topic of today's talk. And another good thing is that they are very helpful in the field condition. In the field condition, these things are easily available and can be used for fracture management. The second is the internal shoulder fixation. These are mostly the rigid type of fixation, and these are further divided into intramedullary and extramedullary. Intramedullary means we reach inside the medullary cavity, and the most common method is intramedullary cleaning. These are mostly just further normograde, retrograde, step pinning, rush pinning, and the recent one is interlocking. Out of these intramedullary fixation techniques, the normograde, intramedullary cleaning, and the interlocking tape. These two are minimally invasive fixation techniques, but there are certain disadvantages of these two. Like for example, if intramedullary normograde, intramedullary cleaning, if the fracture fragments are far apart, they cannot be reduced by the closure. So we have to open the fracture site and then we have to reduce. Another problem is that if there is a large swelling in between the bone fragments, there may be some soft tissues. And if the soft tissues are interposed between the two bone fragments, the fracture cannot heal at all. So these are some limitations of these two. And another thing is that in interlocking nail, we need certain advanced diagnostic instruments like C-arm, which is not available in the field conditions. So these techniques, in spite of being rigid fixation and minimally invasive, are not that much helpful in the field conditions. Coming to the extramedullary, the one is bone plating, which is quite invasive. You have to make a large big incision. And another is MIPO. This is minimally invasive plating osteoporosis. Here we make a tunnel, and through the tunnel, the plate is sliced in between perpendicularly, and then it is fixed with the help of screws. But again, it requires a lot of expertise, and also a diagnostic instruments are required in this also. So it is also having limitation of not being used in the field condition. The third one is external shoulder fixation, but again it requires minimally invasive fixation and also very useful, especially in case of field condition, because they need minimal instrumentation. The third one is external shoulder fixation. So what is minimally invasive fixation? This is the fixation in which you do not touch the fracture site. If it is closed and if it is open, even then you have no implant at the fracture site. But if you have implant, what is minimally you have that you do not touch or at least touch the fracture site. And what are the challenges that we face in the field condition? The main and foremost is the anesthesia. Anesthesia is the main problem in the field condition. Then we do not have sterilized operation theaters in the field. We don't have advanced diagnostic instruments like C-arm and other radiography, digital radiography in the field. And the costly equipments like required in the interlocking nail, they are also not available. And in addition, surgical implants, they have a limited availability in the field, because of which we cannot do many of the surgeries. Although we may have learned it, but we are not able to do in the field conditions because of all these limitations. So the decision making varies clinically. The decision making depends upon the type of fracture and the availability of the fixation modality available with us. But it doesn't mean that you have to do all the fractures. Please do not wrong the patient. If you are not having the available fixation, the decision making depends upon the refer to some other available clinic in and around you. Because if you delay the fracture, the presentation will be delayed and the other complications like malunion, non-union, infection at the fracture site it may occur. So to prevent them, if you have the availability of the fixation devices, please do that, and if you do not have, please do not delay it. This is my personal request to all the listeners. Infection at the fracture site it may occur. So now coming to the fixation techniques, the first and foremost which is easily available in all the care conditions is the external fixation techniques, which includes bandaging. You can do RJ bandage. You can do incorporate splints in that. Splints alone can be used. Then slings available in cast. These casts are most important in the field because this POP, especially this POP, has been used since long, and a newer cast, comparatively newer cast, although it has been used since long, fiberglass bandage, it is also very useful in the field. So we will discuss about these session techniques one by one. The first is splints and bandages. You need minimum materials for this. You will need only cotton roll, bandage, and the splint. For the splinting and bandaging, these are very easily available, but they are useful only in minimally displaced fracture. You cannot use only the fracture fragments are far apart. Then we have to go for the open fracture reduction. So these are useful in minimally displaced fracture and are useful below the elbow or stifle joint. The precaution which is to be taken in the application of splints and bandages is that they should be padded and they should not be very loose or very tight. And they need regular monitoring. In the sense, if they become wet or if they become soiled, they have to be removed and reapplied. The splints will calves, dogs, because it will lead to fracture fixation externally. It has three parts. It has a ring. It should be well cushioned. When you apply cotton and bandage, take care that bandage should not be too tight. If the bandage will be very tight, the cushioning effect of the ring will be lost. Second thing is that this area, this circle area, it should be contoured according to the body. The circle will not remain straight. Okay, it's a 2D image. I cannot tell. The circle should not remain straight. It has to be tilted according to the body of the animal. This is the posterior bar and it is to be kept straight. And this anterior bar, you can see, this is contoured according to the body. This is stifle joint and this is knock joint. So these can be custom made. The good thing is these can be custom made according to the angle and size of the animal. And another good news is that the ready-made splints are also available in the market. If you have a set, you can get that also. If you do not have, then the materials which are required for the construction of homes is very less. Number one is aluminium rod. Aluminium rod of variable diameters can be used according to the body weight. Number two is cotton roll, bandages, then cotton tape. These are all required for the construction of Thomas splint. And the thing is tincture benzoin, which is required for the application of the Thomas splint. Let me explain the procedure. First of all, the ring will be constructed according to the size of the animal. The ring will be made and then afterwards, this posterior bar, it will be kept straight. Okay, and then this anterior bar, it will be contoured according to the angles of the ring. Say, say this is the final constructed Thomas splint. After it's constructed, then it is put in the animal, and the paw region is first of all we apply tincture benzoin on the paw region, then allow it to dry, then apply 2 cotton tapes, one anteriorly and one posteriorly, and then tie it to the distal end of the Thomas splint. Once you have tied it to the distal end of the thumb splint, it means you have applied the necessary traction required, and ring will apply the quarter traction. It will try to keep the limb straight, and afterwards you can apply this Thomas splint. And this is the final makeup of the Thomas splint, which was applied on a dog. This photograph shows the Thomas splint applied on a calf. This case was done in SVP UAP cleaning. This case was done in IVRI. What precautions that are to be taken while you are applying this Thomas splint? That it should neither be too tight nor too loose. If it's very tight, then it can lead to wound on the limb, and if it's very loose, it may act as furculum, which may increase the further movement of the limb, and it may not heal the fracture. So it should neither be very tight nor too loose, and if required, it should be tied to the body of the animal. Here you can see we have tied it. Although we had tied in this also, we had tied it with the body of the animal, so this does not act as a furculum. If required, it should be tied to the body of the animal. Now this slide shows you the direction of traction which is required depending on the bone which is fractured. For example, let us say if the femur is fractured, then please do not apply traction on the femur. The traction is to be applied on the tibia and below the hop. And if the tibia is fractured, the traction is to be applied on femur and below the hop. No need to apply traction on tibia then. And if there is some affection on the hop joint, here, you can see here, if there is some affection on the hop joint, then the traction is to be applied on the femur and below the hop area. Okay, you can see that the posterior bar is like this, and there are angles in the anterior bar. This figure shows the Thomas splint of the forelimb. In case of forelimb, it may help you in the fracture of the humerus and in fracture of the radius and ulna. Sometimes the owner they do not want surgery to be done, and if you find there is minimum displacement, then you can go for the Thomas splint also. Here, if there is fracture of radius and ulna, you can apply one traction here, distally, and one traction is to be applied on the humerus. This is not traction exactly. This is the way you tie the Thomas splint, so that you have to provide strength to the Thomas splint. And this is the fracture of humerus. Here you can apply the traction on radius ulna and below the knee. Sleeves although are not very helpful in the fracture management technique, they can help in the dislocation and limb immobilization only. Otherwise, in fracture management, they are of limited use. Now coming to the cast, these are the main array of the fixation techniques which are used in the field. It includes plaster of Paris, POP, impregnated bandage, and the second is synthetic. It is fiberglass impregnated bandage. They are ideal for closed fracture below the elbow and stifle joint. If the animal is lightweight, you can apply POP or fiberglass alone. Here you do not need any splint to be applied. But if the animals are heavier, then you have to the animal is lightweight, you can apply POP or fiberglass alone. Here you do not need any splint to be applied. But if the animals are heavier, then you have to very good practice to reduce the fracture without sedation, because number one, it will cause pain, and the number two reason that is very important is that after you give sedation, there will be muscle relaxation and there will lead to good fracture reduction. So please give sedative before you reduce the fracture fragments. After giving sedation, position the animal keeping the affected limb upwards. Then you can apply traction and contraction, which will help in reduction of the fracture fragments. And the third step is retention. For the retention, first of all, position the animal and then apply any hydroscopic powder like boric acid or zinc oxide powder. After that, do the padding. The padding is very important. If you are not doing the good padding, then it will lead to preoccupied mode, and if you are doing excessive padding, that may lead to lose fast. Okay, so you have to do padding and bandaging. Afterwards, you have to apply splint if required. Then you have to dip the POP cast in neutron water and apply it. And the most important thing is drying. Drying in case of POP cast because it takes a long time. Although the drying time depends on the temperature of the area in which you are doing the procedure, and it also depends upon the quality of the cast bandage available with you. But still, it's my advice if you can keep it more than 20-25 minutes, because it's a very problematic thing that you apply the cast and after one to think the animal from that the owner says that POP cast has been broken, but we have done. So please allow it to dry properly. And the other thing is you have to dip the POP bandage till the bubbles come out. And the fourth point is rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is very important in cast application because all the joints are immobilized. So you have to mobilize the joint after the cast removal by exercise and the physiotherapy. Fourth point is rehabilitation. This slide shows the application of Fibreglass. All the joints it is almost similar to POP, but there are certain differences. Like the cast is to be dipped in simple water, while in POP you are dipping it in the lukewarm water. So this can be dipped in simple water, so no need to pour some water here. And then you have to dry. The drying time here is 3 to 5 minutes. So if you apply the cast, wait for 5 minutes only, and then allow the animal to stand. So it is very fast procedure. The two differences were you have to dip in water for a few seconds only. And important thing is we have to wear the gloves while we apply the fiberglass cast, because otherwise this fiberglass will adhere to your hands for weeks and it's very bad. So please wear gloves before we apply the fiberglass cast. This cases was treated at TVCC Navsari. This is a buffalo calf applied in POP. Splint was used. This is splint plus POP casting. This again was treated at TVCC Navsari. Here, this buffalo calf was treated by fiberglass bandage and no splint was applied, and it gave very good result. The position was very good, and you can see the immediate weight bearing. This again was treated at TVCC Navsari. So there are certain important points for the cast application. Let's start the application of cast from one end. I have seen many people, they start from center. It is a bad practice. You either start from proximal end or distal end, and preferably distal end is good. And then full limb casting is recommended. Many times you leave the paw and there are chances of swelling in that. So you apply full limb cast from proximal end till the end. Another important point is each turn of the cast should overlap the preceding turn by 1/3 or 1/2 of the way. And the other important point is that I have already discussed. The drying is very important, otherwise the cast may break. As the hardening time of POP is longer, you have to take care in case of this thing. Then regular monitoring is very important. If possible, you can take the radiographs. Otherwise, it can take 45 to 60 days for the fracture to heal. The post-application cast should again dry. Again, there is a problem in POP because it is having hygroscopic nature. So it may take the water and that can lead both the skin. There will be smell, and that is not good. There will be discharge, smell, swelling. So if that happens, you have to remove the cast immediately. Another thing is that this is very useful in case of the simple fracture, I mean closed fracture. If the fracture is open, this cast application is not very much advisable. Even if you are doing it, go for the window cast, and if not possible, use another fixation method. This is the picture of a calf treated with window casting. The fiberglass bandage was applied. Here you can see this elevation. A cap of a bottle was kept below the bandage, and after the cast application, it was cut. And this was the appearance. There was a big wound present here, and this wound healed after around 7 to 8 days after that fracture casting was applied. The window has to be made according to the size of the wound. But if the wound is very large or multiple wounds are present, it may weaken the cast and cast may break. So in case of multiple wounds, please do not apply the cast. Go for another or other fixation methods. Here the slide is showing the hanging pin cast. This image I have taken from the internet. Hanging pin cast is mostly useful for the fracture of tibia of the large ligaments. If the animal is small like calf or dog or cat or goat, sheep, then we can apply cast in case of tibia, but in case of heavier animals, the cast is not staying here. It will come out as a hole. So to hold that, pass a pin through the tibia. First cross this pin and then you can apply the cast. It will of this hanging pin cast.
You are now unmuted.
So this slide shows the effect of number of layers on the cast. This red one is the POP and this blue one is the fiberglass. You can see in this graph, as the number of layers increases, the weight of the cast also increases. And as the weight increases, the bulkiness of cast also increases. And this increase is more in case of the POP. So please, if you are increasing the number of layers, this POP will hamper the movement of the animal, as this is heavier and this is not a good characteristic of any fixation. It should be as lightweight as possible. So go for the fiberglass fixation. Up to 8 layers also you can see the weight of fiberglass is significantly lower than this POP cast. Then this graph, it shows the biomechanical characters of the fiberglass and POP. As you can see, the load bearing capacity of POP is significantly lower than that of fiberglass. And as you increase the number of layers, even one layer increases the load bearing capacity significantly. But this increase is not so significant for POP. So if you use POP, you have to add so many layers and it will again increase the bulkiness. But if you use fiberglass, it will improve the biomechanical properties significantly even by one layer. So in case of heavy animal, this fiberglass bandage is very, very useful, as the mechanical properties of fiberglass bandage are better than that of the POP. This table shows the comparison of physical properties of POP as well as fiberglass. The POP application is comparatively messy as compared to fiberglass. The time of application is more because we need to put splint in that. Time of hardening is also more in case of POP. It is more hygroscopic, it is bulkier, and the mechanical strength is less. Still, the POP is mostly used in case of the field because there are two things. The number one is availability. All the fiberglass is also available nowadays in the field. And the number two is that the cost. POP is very, very cheaper as compared to fiberglass. But if you can consult the shopkeeper, he will give you on the subsidized rate this fiberglass bandage, as it is having very good mechanical properties. So in the field condition, if you give fiberglass bandage, it will improve the results significantly and it will be very helpful for the animal as well as for the veterinarian. Coming to the second fixation technique, which can be used in the field, that is external skeletal fixation. External skeletal fixators have been divided into fixed frame and free frame. The fixed frame ESF are like this. These are made up of the metal. The frame is fixed and the direction and the number of pins cannot be changed. Whereas the second form is free form, like this. Let us suppose this is bone and this is the fixator applied. The number of pins can be changed and the direction of pin can also be changed. That is why it is called the free form. What are the advantages of the external scalpel fixator that we are discussing it here? It is minimally invasive method. There are no implant in the fracture site. Here you can see this is the fracture site. There is no implant here. Implants are above and below the fracture site. So it will not interfere with the hematoma, the natural hematoma, and it will not interfere with the fracture healing. There is immediate weight bearing after the surgery. It maintains normal joint mobility. It is one advantage external fixator, skeletal fixator have over the external coaptation because in that the joints were immobilized. And also it can be used in case of open fractures also. The casts were difficult to apply in the open fracture because of certain disadvantages, but these can be applied in case of open fractures also because wound management in open fractures is very good by the external skeletal fixators. And the free form required a minimal instrumentation. We will discuss this further. This fixed frame, that is the metallic one, they have been divided into linear, circular, and hybrid depending upon the shape. I will give only broad classification. I will not go into the deeper classification. And the instrumentation which is required for this ESF. For linear ESF, you need fixation pins, you need linkage bolts, you need external connecting bars. And for Elizarov, that is the circular fixator, you need rings, wires, connectors, and rods. And in addition, you need a drill machine. What is the main disadvantage associated with them is that they are not easily available in the field conditions. So their use is not, they are not very much used. Another thing is free form of ESF, which have already been used by above 100 to 120 kg animals, and they are very easy to fabricate or engineer in the field conditions also. So they are very useful, and we will discuss about these two type of ESF only because they are very useful in case of the field condition. Number one is the acrylic type, and number two is the epoxy type. The instrumentation which is required for free form of fixator is minimal. You need only K-wires, you need a K-wire bender, you need a drill machine, and a drill machine which is available at the hardware stores around, may cost around 1,000 to 2,000. They can be used in case of the free form of fixator application. Then epoxy resin like M-Seal is freely available in the market in all the shops, in all the hardware shops. It can be used if we are preparing this epoxy pin ESF. And this acrylic type of ESF requires the dental acrylic. It is most common acrylic which are used for the dental with the dental surgeons. And then this is PVC pipe. This is most commonly used in washing machine. This is washing machine pipe, PVC pipe. This can be used for the acrylic type of fixator. So, as far as metallic, this fixed frame and free form are concerned, the free form are better because they are polymer material, they have better availability, comparatively cheaper, and also light in weight because they are these one are metallic, so they are heavier. And in the field condition, the use of free form is better because the direction and size of the pin can be changed according to the type of fracture, according to the size of the animal. Whereas the fixed frame they are coming in a fixed frame, and you have to apply that frame only. Okay. This is the brief procedure of the application of the free form of fixator. You have to pass the pins by introducing the pins through the soft tissue to the level of bone. The first pin is to be passed in the smaller fragment, then alternatively in the bigger, and then smaller, and then bigger. And while passing it, keep it as perpendicular as possible, and cross the pins at the angle of 70 to 90 degrees. Let us understand this thing with the help of these models. Let us suppose this is a bone. I am showing you acrylic type of ESF fixator construction. Let us suppose this is a bone. First of all, you have to drill through the bone. Here you can see the pins are crossing each other, but they are a little up and down, because if they are cast in the same plane, they will cross each other inside the bone. So please take care that they should not cross each other inside the bone. Okay. So first of all, you have to drill the K wires, or I am calling it pins, through the bone. And then after this scaffold is formed, you put this PVC tubing. This PVC tubing is to be put inside the fixation pins, and this will form a temporary scaffold. And in this temporary scaffold, from this point, this is open. You have to put the liquid acrylic in that. You have to take care that do not overfill it, because it will expand after this fill. So it may come out. So you have to fill it, and then after it is hardened, you seal the ends of the pipe. Okay. One precaution that you have to take is that it is highly exothermic in nature, and there is a lot of heat generated while you pour the acrylic for the hardening. So you have to put in between cold water, or you have to put this crushed ice in between the connecting bar and the skin. Otherwise, thermal injury will happen to the body. Let us understand the different type of structures which can be made with the help of acrylic ESF. These are the 4 models available, which can be fabricated easily. This one is uniplanar. See, if this is the bone, the pins are passed in one plane. So this is uniplanar. 3 pins are passed in the proximal segment, 3 pins are passed in the distal segment. And these are connected to the connecting rods, which are prepared with the help of acrylic. It can be made multiplanar. Here you see it is passed in variable planes. So this is multiplanar 1. This is multiplanar 2. Multiplanar 2 has these two are joined here. These two connecting bars are joined here, and it becomes the multiplanar 2. What is the what are the advantage that we are joining these two? There are advantages that if you connect the bar, it will increase the mechanical strength significantly. So we are joining these two connecting bar in case of multiplanar 2. And if you see here in the circular, all the connecting bars have been joined. So this is the strongest of all the models. The circular one is strongest, but multiplanar 2 is also very strong, and in the field, you can use any of these 3. Multiplanar 1, multiplanar 2, and circular. Uniplanar is not very strong, so I will not recommend its use. You can use multiplanar 1, multiplanar 2, and circular type of model of acrylic in the field condition. And here you can see this is multiplanar type 2, which is applied on the limb of the animal. These are some of the radiographs of animals treated with acrylic. This was done at IVRI. This is the pre-operative photograph. This is post-operative, and this is the follow-up. Here you can see the callus formation. These are the animals treated with the acrylic type of ESF. This is multiplanar type 1 design, and these two are treated with multiplanar 2. And you can see there is some change in shape. So that is a good thing, because you can change the shape and direction according to the requirement of the animal. Coming to the second, which is very useful, is epoxy pin ESF. Okay, I'll describe the procedure again. Let us suppose it is bone, and you have drilled the K wires through the bone. After that, you have to bend the K wires. See here, the K wires are bent over here. After they are bent, they will be joined like this. This is a proximal fragment, this is a distal fragment, and these K wires are joined to form a temporary scaffold. After this temporary scaffold is formed, you have to mix the M-seal. Anyone who has used this M-seal can know there are 2 things available in the pack. You have to mix them together to make a uniform colored dough. After uniform colored dough is formed, apply it on the scaffold which is formed. Here you can see This is the scaffold form. And let me explain with the help of models the 4 designs which can be made. First one is uniplanar. The pins are passed in one plane, and these are the connecting bar. The connecting bar can be are generally which we are using 20 mm. This is multiplanar type 1. This is multiplanar type 2, as this is shown in this case also. We have used multiplanar type 2, and this is circular. So in this model, as we increase the complexity of the design, we come from uniplanar to multiplanar 1 to 2, and then come to circular. The mechanical properties of the fixator increase. That is the load bearing capacity, the stiffness, all increase as the complexity of these designs increases. So these can be used in animals up to 100 to 120 kg. All the dogs, all the goat, sheep, cow and foal, they can be treated with the help of these type of fixators. This is a case which was treated at BCC Navsari. After patient positioning, the pins were passed. After the pins were passed, they were bent together and tied to form a temporary scaffold. And this scaffold was then applied with the MCL, the epoxy. And epoxy can be used. We had used MCL in this case. And these connecting bars were further joined up and down while multiplier type design. Now coming to the fixator removal. The fixator removal is also very easy. You do not need any special instrument for that. You need only a pin cutter. This is a plier easily available in all the households. Cut the pin from one direction and pull it off from the other direction. And if it is not coming, you can cut from here also, cut from both the direction. And this is the appearance of the link after the fixator is removed. See, only small holes are present here, and these are the pin tracks. So after the fixator has been removed, the pin tracks are to be dressed minimum for 10 to 15 days so that the healing occurs and there is no infection in that. These are the images of cases treated at IVRI. This is pre-operative, this is post-operative, and this is the follow-up X-ray of a case treated by epoxy. These are the images of epoxy and acrylic. This is a gross photographs of dog which are showing very good weight bearing after the cases were treated with epoxy ESF. These cases were done by my guide, Dr. Ethel. I have worked under his leadership, and he is a very good person. He had taught me how to apply this, and he's using them since very long in open fractures and closed fractures also. This was applied on a calf. It was around 100 kg, and in foal also you can see very good weight bearing. Some important points which has to be kept in mind while applying this ESF is that we have to use a very low speed electricity. Do not go for high speed because it may lead to thermal necrosis and the pin may wobble. Also, the second point is that the pins should not interfere with each other in the medullary cavity. As already discussed, you can see here, you can keep it slightly up and down so that they do not cross at each other. If they cross in the medullary cavity, the pin will not come out of the other end. Another very important thing is that continuously drop cold, sterile, normal saline solution while drilling. While you drill, as already I have shown in one photograph also, while we drill the bone, continuously pour on the normal saline or some water on it, if preferably cold, because while drilling there is generation of heat. It can lead to thermal necrosis. And to prevent that, please add this cold sterile solution continuously while drilling. It will reduce the side effects of the drilling inside the bone. After that, after the applicator has been applied, fixator has been applied, regular monitoring is required, and if possible, take the radiographs. Post application, you have to do regular antiseptic dressing at the entry and exit point of the pins. All the points here, these points all are to be dressed at least twice daily till the fixator is removed. You have to test them because they will be discharged from all these points. If some movement is noticed, what will we do? If some type of movement is noticed, you can do one thing. You can add some connecting bars in between. Like in multiplanar, if some movement is noticed, you can add connecting bar, and that will significantly increase the stability of the fixator. The good thing about fixators is that they can be used in simple as well as in compound fractures. So this is acrylic, which I have discussed, and this is epoxy. They do also have some limitations and advantages and disadvantages. In case of acrylic, while you mix it, there is a formation of noxious and irritant fumes. So you have to wear the mask and gloves every time you use the acrylic for the formation of the ESF. It is in the liquid state, which is slightly difficult to handle, and there are possible of leakages from the pin to pipe point. And it is very exothermic reaction. As already discussed, you have to put cold water or crushed ice. Hardening time is very less. It will harden within 3 to 5 minutes. The weight is very less. It is very lightweight and it is a very good character. Relative cost is more when we compare it with the epoxy. And radiographically, as already seen, this is translucent. Whereas epoxy, while using epoxy, there is no formation of heat or no fumes are formed. It is doubly inconsistency and easy to handle. The only problem is that radiographically it is opaque. So while you are doing fixation with epoxy ESF, take minimum of 2 radiographs in orthogonal view so that the bone can be seen, because it will hamper the radiographic evaluation of the fracture healing. Now there are certain thumb rules which are to be remembered while you are applying the fixator. First is pin number. The more numbers you put inside the fracture fragments, the stabler will be the fixation. Like in these two diagrams, you can see this is 2-point fixation per segment, 1 and 2 per segment. And this shows 3-point fixation per segment. This 3-point fixation is stiffer than this 2-point fixation. So this will be more stable. And the thumb rule says you should have minimum of 3 pins per segment, or overall 6 pins. Second is pin size. The pin size pin size stiffness is directly proportional to 4th power of pin diameter. But it doesn't mean you can take a largest pin. The pin number should not exceed 20 to 30% of the bone diameter. For example, a bone is having 6 mm diameter. So 20% will be 1.2, 30% will be 1.8. So for a bone of 6 mm diameter, the pin or K-wire should be between 1.2 to 1.8, and 1.5 mm pin is most commonly used for such type of bones. Coming to the pin length, the shorter pin is stiffer and the longer pin will have less stability, because stiffness is inversely proportional, means ulta. Stiffness is inversely proportional to the 3rd power of the pin length. But you should also take care that while you apply the fixator, there will be certain swelling, inflammatory changes at the entry point of the pin. So you have to keep a minimum distance of 2 centimeters. Keep a minimum of 2 centimeter distance for any soft tissue swelling which is expected between the skin and the sidebars. Then is the pin location. Farley near-part principle is used, and there should be no implant at the fracture site. Please keep it in the mind while passing the ESF. There should be no pin placement at here. There should be no pin placed in between the 2 fractured segments. And then pin placement, as already discussed, drilling is between 200 to 300 RPM. Do not go the speeds higher than that. Only connect to drilling between 200 to 300 RPM speed. So, after we have discussed the fixation techniques which can be used in the field, here is the summary. A dog comes to you and you have to do any fixation. The anesthesia which is to be given under pre-condition for any type of fixation in dogs, either go for sedation or general anesthesia. And if forelimb fracture is there and humor is involved, there will be internal skeletal fixation. So it can be referred to some polyclinic. And if the fracture is below the elbow and it is closed, you can apply Thomas splint, or you can type any type of fiberglass or POP cast, or you can apply ESF. If the fracture is open, then please don't prefer the casting. You can apply ESF. For the hind leg, again femur, we can use internal skeletal fixation. Again, it has to be referred. Then for tibia, you can apply cast. You can apply ESF. ISF also can be used in tibia. And then below the stifle, if it is closed, apply Thomas Flint cast or ESF. And if it's open, you can go for external skeletal fixation. For small ruminants and calves, if small ruminants have been presented in the field conditions to you, then for all the surgeries, orthopedic surgeries, you can give sedation with local anesthesia. In forelimb, you can use the brachial plexus nerve block, or you can go for IVRA, intravenous regional anesthesia. In hind limb, you can use anterior epidural anesthesia, or you can go for IVRA. And in addition, you can go for local infiltration anesthesia. Below the elbow for closed fracture, again you can use Thomas Flint cast, POP or fiberglass, or you can apply ESF. And for open fractures, ESF can be used. For hind limb, again for the tibia, here you can apply the cast. If the ruminant is there, small ruminants, sheep, goat, and calves, you can apply the cast. And below the stifle, you can use Thomas Flint and ESF for cast, and for open, you can go for ESF application. For the large ruminants, if there is forelimb, for the closed fracture below the elbow, you can go for splinting, cast application, and ESF. And for open fracture, you can go for ESF, window cast, or splinting. For hind limb, for tibia, especially this, you can see this tibia, as there is excessive muscle mass and it is in close proximity to the body. The cast will not stay here. So as already described, you can pass the pin from here, and then you can go for hanging pin cast in case of tibia in large ruminants. Otherwise, below the hock, you can go for cast application, ESF application, and if it's open, you can go for window casting, you can go for splinting, gutter splints, or you can apply external skeletal fixator. But for external skeletal fixator, only metallic can be used in large heavyweight ruminants. Small ruminants can use the polymeric type of ESF. For heavyweight ruminants, you cannot use polymeric type of ESF. You need metallic type of ESF for these, and which are not easily available in the field conditions. So this summarizes my presentation. I have told briefly about the anesthesia and the most common techniques which can be used in the field conditions. For any veterinarian, you should not leave the case. Please do the cases, apply fixator, you can apply cast, whatever available with you. And if you are not able to do, please refer the cases. Do not delay the cases, as the delayed presentation leads to the complication in the cases. And this is all from my side. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your nice presentation. Now we are go forward for the question and answer session. I will check the question. Madam, the question from A.V. Nagar. If the swelling is seen with POP cast, then we have removed it. Then what further steps have to be taken?
Hello.
Yes, madam. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. So the question is, this swelling is seen with the POP cast.
Yes.
As I have already discussed, if you are applying the POP cast or any cast, go for full limb casting. You should apply the cast from proximal to distal end, involving the whole length of the limb. Then there are least chances of swelling. And still, if you are finding any type of swelling or smell, then remove it immediately. Allow the swelling to subside. You can splint bandage it for 1-2 days, and then again you can apply the cast after the swelling has been reduced. Immediately do not apply the cast after the cast has been removed, because the swelling will take time to subside.
Another question from Dr. Mallory. What material or bad matter is recommended for Thomas Flint large animals?
For large animals, actually, aluminium bars are not very much useful. The Thomas Flint is also to be fabricated for that. Generally, iron rods are taken and the ring is prepared separately and the rods are welded with that. And then the Thomas splint is fabricated and then it is applied. So you will be using this iron for the application of Thomas splint in case of the large heavy animals. But otherwise for the lightweight you can use aluminium and you can double the aluminium rods also.
Another question from Dr. Manjusha. What is the position of placing splint in the forelimb and hind limb, like cranial or caudal, to the bone?
Excuse me, sir.
Position of placing splint in the forelimb and hind limb.
The position of placing splints is that you have to put in the tension side. Generally, we are putting mediolateral splints in all the forelimb and hind limb, but the direction can be changed according to the wound. If there is wound, then the splint is not put on that. Otherwise, mediolateral splinting is used.
Can you tell me, madam, something about hanging pin cast?
Hanging pin cast, as I have already discussed, these hanging type of pin cast, they are used only for the tibia in case of heavyweight animals. If the animal weight is less, and as I have told you that in casting you need to stabilize one joint above and one joint below. For the tibia we need stifle joint above and hock joint below. Hock joint is easily available in case of heavyweight ruminants, but for the stifle joint the muscle mass is too much there and it is very attached to the body. So that joint is not, we cannot fix that joint very easily, and even if we fix that joint, that cast will come out as such, whole cast will come out. So for allowing that cast to stay at the place, we pass a pin in the tibia. That pin is passed like external skeletal fixator, through and through. It is passed from the skin, it will reach one cortex, then another cortex, and then it will come through out of the skin. So it will be percutaneous pin. So that first that pin will be passed and after that apply the cast. So that will help in holding the cast. Otherwise, the hanging pin has no function of itself. It will only help to hold the cast that is applied on the tibia.
Thank you, madam. Another question from Dr. Kunal Patel. Any immobilization technique available for spinal fracture in dogs?
Immobilization for spinal fractures, actually direct immobilization is not available. You can go for the splinting. The spinal splints are available in the market. That will reduce the movement of the spine. You can go for the spinal splinting or spinal surgery. You can go spinal surgery, but it's not very successful. But only splints are available in the market, and you can stabilize the spine based on the area of spine involved. Use the spinal splint, and they have to be wrapped around the whole abdomen.
Thank you, madam. Another question from Dr. Mallory. This transtibial pin, should it be applied anterior or posterior of site of fracture on tibia?
Let me show the photograph. See, you can see here, this is passed from cranial end to what you can say anterior posterior. From here it is passed to here. It is passed from anterior to posteriorly, and then the cast is applied.
Thank you, madam. There are lots of good comments. I would like to share one. Dr. Mallory, she told that, madam, can you please give another seminar, especially for fracture of tumor and tumors? Thank you, Dr. Mallory.
It depends upon any platform. If they allow me,
Definitely, madam. Definitely. We will invite you. Okay, at the end of session, I would like to thank Dr. Vidya Tyagi for the opportunity was to present work in the NLE platform. I also thank Dean of the College, Veterinary College, Meerut, Vice Chancellor of the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Technology Meerut,
or allow Dr. Subi Jackie to present over here on this webinar. I would also like to thank our Vice Chancellor, Navsari Agricultural University, the Dean of the College, Dr. V. Kharadi sir, and also the team of the Information Technology Navsari Agricultural University. And a special thanks to organizing secretary of this webinar series, Dr. Deepak Suthar, to successfully completion of this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, participants.
Next,
Dear participants, the next webinar will be on next Sunday on same time and 10:30 to 11:30 in NIU webinar series. Thank you.
now session is end. પાછી લિંક મોકલી ફેસબુક ની જે રહી ગયા તો જોઈ લે આપણને સંખ્યા મળી આપણે ક્લોઝ કરી